Turtles in a half shell. Turtle power! What the fuck? That's what the Ninja Turtles do, right? My name is Mike, and this is The Bored Cyborg. Welcome back to yet another review. Today I'm taking a look at a film that really surprised me when I heard it was coming out around, 4 months ago now? Of course, it didn't get a theatrical release. It should have, in my opinion. But that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman. I'm curious to know what you guys thought about this movie. I'm sure it's divisive because it's Batman and the Turtles. And so I'm curious to know what you guys thought. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as usual, we can get a little discussion rolling. I'm not so much into the crossover sort of things, the crossover universes. But man, when I saw this title, I was like, huh? Okay. And then I saw the animation and I was like, I'm in. The Turtles look pretty good. Batman looks awesome. It's hand-drawn. Let's do it. So I finally got around to seeing the movie. So how does it hold up? It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman, or at least for the first half of the film it is. And then, of course, they team up, and it's amazing. I had such a blast with this movie. I know some people have criticized it a little bit here and there, but man, I was blown away with how much fun this movie was. Now, I do have some nitpicks, some things that didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the film, but they are things that I wish were toned down a little bit, which I'll get to. The first thing I want to mention is the intro sequence, which was done in such an awesome black and white hand-drawn style. Definitely a callback to the original comics, which I haven't seen, or I haven't read. I grew up watching the films. In fact, the second film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze, was the first film I saw in theaters, so I'm very nostalgic for the Turtles. I grew up watching the late 80s and 90s TV show, which I love to this day. I have it in that van out in my collection in my living room there, and I love the cartoon. I love the movies so much. The third one, not so much, but Secret of the Ooze and the first one I absolutely adore. I'm not a fan of the Michael Bay movies at all. I have tried. I'm not one of those people that's just like, those movies, I'm not seeing them. I've tried to watch them. I got through the first one. I couldn't get through the second one. Not for me. They're not made for me. The Turtles are way too steroided out and just, they're ugly. They're ugly to look at. That leads me to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman, which is crazy. I can't believe that's the title of a movie in 2019. Well, I kind of can. The Turtles in this, for one, look great. I think they are more on the buff side for teenagers. They're pretty damn buff. Their traps are ridiculous. And they're definitely more in the vein of the Bay Turtles, Michael Bay Turtles, but they still look better. They're toned down a little bit, and the voice acting is phenomenal. I thought it was damn good. All very different voices, of course, as they should be, but I thought all of the voice casting was on point. Batman looks great. I like his old school, more royal blue kind of outfit, kind of costume that he has going on, royal blue and gray. He's voiced by Troy Baker, who actually does him and the Joker in this movie, so talk about versatility. Troy Baker does a great job as Batman and as the Joker. In fact, there were points where I was like, is that Mark Hamill? Is that Mark Hamill? I think he was busy doing Chucky, the new Child's Play, but it wasn't Mark Hamill, but I think Troy Baker did a fine job as the Joker. The first thing that really stood out about this movie is some of the iconic imagery with the Turtles. The first scene is basically Batgirl goes into this facility, and then the Foot Clan comes in and she senses it and stops the Foot Clan from causing too much damage. The Turtles crash the party, and it's really akin to the first film, the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, where you don't really see them. You see little glimpses of them, and they help April, they save April. And so it reminded me of that, and it was a really good introduction scene where the Turtles use their smoke screens and everything, and they're beating up the Foot Clan, and some really great action. And then there's just a shot of them afterwards on the rooftops, and it's so iconic. Just the shaded out Turtles, their sashes waving in the wind, and it's just a beautiful shot. And there's even a shot of them coming out of the manhole, and it sort of pans up, tilts up, and it reminded me of Turtles in Time, the video game for the Super Nintendo, like sort of the intro screen. I'll try to do a comparison. Really cool. So just the iconography of the Turtles I thought was on point really reeled me in right from the beginning. The story basically follows the Turtles, who are on the trail of Shredder, who has found his way to Gotham City. Sure, I'll take it. And he is planning on doing something in Gotham City to wreak havoc, as he usually does, for Gotham City and for the Turtles. Batman catches wind of these turtles causing a ruckus, and basically he confronts them and doesn't know what the hell they are, who the hell they are. There's a great scene where he's like, Ninja? Turtles? It's one of those sort of plays on the title that I thought was very clever. And so he tracks them down. They get into a fantastic fight sequences where Batman, he's more experienced. The Turtles are just teenagers. Batman sweeps the floor with them. And then they sort of team up once they learn that they're in it for the same reason. So Shredder's plan is to contact Ra's al Ghul. By the way, it's pronounced Ra's al Ghul by Robin in the film and Ra's al Ghul by Batman.
Worshipping Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul.
Shredder teams up with Ra's al Ghul and tracks down the Joker, who is in Arkham Asylum, and Shredder has mutagen, which he gives to Joker, and then the Joker gives the mutagen to the rest of the population of Arkham Asylum, and they all mutate into weird creatures. And I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but that's sort of the plot in a nutshell. But man, the action in this movie is better than 90% of the action in big blockbuster movies today. I'm talking Marvel films, I'm talking action flicks. The action is so well drawn, so well choreographed, if you want to call it that, so well shot. I understand with animation you could do anything that makes sense, or that doesn't, but in this, everything is so pinpoint. The hand-to-hand combat, we get a fight between, you name it, we get it. The Turtles versus the Penguin. We get the Turtles versus Batman. We get Shredder versus Batman. Every combination you can imagine is here, and all of the action is phenomenal. It's the standout here. It is the reason to see the movie. It is so much fun. All of the Turtles use their weapons. Shredder and Ra's al Ghul and Batman, they all use their very specific fighting styles, and it shows. And man, I can't stress it enough. The action is done so well. It's paced so well. It's exciting. It really got me on the edge of my seat. Granted, it's a comic book movie. You know how it's all going to end. But damn, that action really got me pumped up. And it's even violent. There's a shot, I think it's where Raph knees the fuck out of somebody's face, and then blood squirts out. And I'm like, yeah! This is what we need, like a violent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I mean, I'm not saying we need arterial sprays and heads being lopped off, but a little bit of blood doesn't hurt anybody, and I'm so glad they went for it in this movie. I didn't really notice too much other blood, but the fighting is brutal. The crunching and of the hits and everything, the sound design's great. And I just was really pleased to see a turtle knee somebody in the face, one of Penguin's henchmen, and blood squirt out. I was like, yes, in a Turtles movie? Fuck yeah. And like I said, the Turtles, I think, all look fantastic. I just don't know how I feel about the pupils. I know they're turtles and everything, but just seeing white eyes and no more character to the eyes, it's a little weird for me. Maybe that's how they are now in the new shows and everything, but I don't know. I just base it off of the stuff that I know of the Turtles, and it just is a little strange for me, but that is not really a complaint. That's just a me problem. I thought it was awesome that we get to see Shredder's sort of backstory, Japanese lore that goes into it. Not a lot, but we get little flashes of that sort of a thing, where he hails from and why he knows the sort of fighting techniques he knows. Just really cool character depth and just shedding some light on the heritage, the history, the lore of the Japanese character that is the Shredder. Some of the other characters, I was sad to see that Master Splinter does not make an appearance here. Well, he sort of does in one of the, again, hand-drawn flashback sequence, a real quick one that shows Shredder and Master Splinter, and is a really cool shot, but we see an outline of Splinter, but we never see him in character in the film. Another character in the movie who doesn't really have too much to do besides make the mutagen, that is Baxter Stockman, and I don't know who they got to voice this guy, but it is a spot-on Jeff Goldblum impression. I mean, it is spot-on. The mannerisms, the pauses in the speech, the anxious sort of delivery.
Just a heads up, although you might not want to talk about it with me, your loyal henchman / hostage, I'm not 100% certain on my status here.
I thought it was Jeff Goldblum for a minute. Obviously, that's a callback to Jeff Goldblum's The Fly, Cronenberg from 1986, so I thought that was a really funny sort of in-joke. And that sort of leads me to one of my nitpicks with the movie. This may as well have been called fan service, the movie, and I don't mind fan service of things that I'm passionate for, especially Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman, two properties that I am nostalgic for and passionate about. There are non-stop in-jokes and fan service, and a lot of it hits really well, but it goes overboard at a couple times. It's just, there are moments that they should have let breathe a little bit, and they always cut it off with comic relief. Always, always, always. It's just this, the formula of the script. It's like, just when you're like, oh, they haven't had a joke, oh, there it is, okay. So it is a script that hits all the right beats in terms of comedy. Like, there isn't more than 20 seconds without a funny part, and that's okay. I just felt like he got a little overboard. There were a couple sentimental moments that could have gotten a little bit of an emotional rise out of the audience, and then they ruin it with a stupid joke. You know what I mean? And like I said, 90% of the jokes hit for me. Maybe 90% of the jokes hit for me. A lot of the fan service, the turtle van is straight up from the 90s. It has 90s graffiti on the side, so it doesn't run very well. So that's, fan service like that, I can't help but adore it, and I welcome that sort of thing. I guess some of the humor, it runs a little dry by the end of the 80-minute runtime with this movie, and it's like, okay, we get it. There's a couple running jokes that just go on and on and on, and it's just like, okay, all right. You don't need to pepper in this many jokes, but it is what it is. That is my only nitpick when it comes to this movie. I was also intrigued and a little disturbed by something that the turtles do in this film. They act like turtles at points, like actual humanoid turtles. There's one scene where I think Mikey gets on a bad guy, and instead of just laying on him, he curls up into his shell, so it's just a shell holding him down, holding him from moving. And so it's just a shell, a giant turtle shell, and Mikey sort of pops his head out, and it was weird to see the turtles being turtles. I know that's strange to say, but I was like, this is weird and uncanny. And then an even more disturbing one was Donatello. He felt nervous or embarrassed about something, and he sort of sunk into his shell. And I thought it was, again, intriguing. Oh, it's like, wow, they're using their shells for expression, for characterization. I thought that was really cool. But at the same time, it was a little uncanny to see them doing that, since I've never seen the turtles use their turtle abilities like that. But in this, they were actually using their shells like a turtle would, and it was weird, but inviting. I thought it was cool. With all that said, I really did enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman. I don't have many problems with the movie. I think it's paced perfectly. The action is non-stop, and not only that, it is quality action, especially when it comes to an animated film. When it comes to an action film, like I said, this movie has action in it that's better than the majority of action films I've seen in the theaters. So I was just enthralled by the fight sequences in this. It even has a car chase, so just non-stop action. It's awesome. I feel like the humor gets a little tired by the end. I'm all for the fan service and the in-jokes, but some of the jokes, some of the running gags just went on, and there were a couple moments where I wished there wasn't a joke, like they subverted our expectations a little bit, but they didn't. That is the way of things. It's a Nickelodeon movie, right? When it comes down to it, Nickelodeon and DC. So I understand that they had to cater towards the kids as well as the adults. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think you should all check it out, especially if you're fans of either property or both. And I love what DC's doing with their animated universe. So much more than their live-action universe. I own a ton of the films back here on DVD and Blu-ray. I can't wait to pick this one up. I'm sure it's on Blu-ray already, but I will wait till it gets a little bit cheaper. I loved this movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman. It's bodacious.
Wait, we're riding it. Do we want it to explode?
I just want to thank you all for checking out my review of the 2019 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vs. Batman. I really, really love this film. It was such a surprise to me. I loved the action. I loved the majority of the humor. I love seeing the turtles kicking ass, and Batman, them teaming up. It was just such a joy to watch. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, feel free to hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg out. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team. They're turtles in a half shell, and they're green.